So we have already discussed the small signal model of MOSFET, wherein different parameters like capacitances and resistances are discussed previously in previous slides. And then I have said that there are few resistances, just like BJTs, there are few resistances as well in case of MOSFET, which I did not consider here. But if required, somebody may consider in this. Okay, but even if you don't consider, that is not a problem, because ultimately we are working with these internal connections. And then I discussed the effect of this GMB VSB, that is the substrate bias effect, how it affects the performance of the this BJT, performance of the MOSFET. So in this case, I've shown that the substrate bias can enhance the GM by some factor and will make it 1.6 GM. So this is a technique through which you can actually improve your GM, which will in return will improve the gain and bandwidth, everything. So GM is a very important parameter. If you can enhance it by any means, this is always going to good, but provided if you are not losing something else. So this way you can gain the GM to some extent without losing much. In the other hand, or on the other sides, there are different other parameters as well. And I said why increasing the the current, be it IC for BJT or be it ID for MOSFET, will create some problem in terms of power. Especially power is one of the major requirement. Apart from this may also shift to the other region, other mode, which is not desirable and will make the amplifier not work properly. Okay, then I have shown you one current source biasing and also have derived the value of V0 by Vin, that means the gain, which is GM into R0. I did the same thing previously as well in the previous slides. In this way also we got the same amount of gain. So now we will see normal biasing of a BJT amplifier. So if we take the common emitter amplifier as it is shown here, wherein emitter is grounded. So in this circuit we have used RC value, and we have input IB. We have the input current as IB, and Vin is the input voltage. So we are taking only AC inputs and outputs into the consideration in this case. Okay, and the output characteristics of the BJT will be something like this. So it will operate in this active region. This is saturation for BJT. Okay, because both this junction is in forward bias in this region, this saturation region. Okay, but actually we need BE junction to be forward bias and this junction to be reverse biased. Okay, so this is very important to understand. Now if we just do a simple calculation and take only this loop into consideration after biasing, where VCC is the bias voltage, then we will find that VCC is equal to ICRC plus VCE. So in this equation, if we plot in the output characteristics, we find a straight line, which is also known as load line. Okay, now if you see the load line, and if you just do a simple math, this particular line, straight line, can be written as this format, where A is the x-intercept and B is the y-intercept. Now in this case, you will find if I divide the whole equation by VCC, so this part will be divided by VCC, this part will be divided by VCC, and this one will become 1. So it is more or less like x by a plus y by b equal to 1. Now this is your x-axis, IC is your y-axis, so x by a means it will touch the x-axis in VCC, which is true. At the same time, it will touch the y-axis in VCC divided by RC. Now if we change the value of RC, your load line will shift, just like these two green lines that I have shown. It will shift accordingly. Okay, so one of our major change, or one of our major control is the value of RC. Now as we increase the RC, the load line will shift upward, or load line will shift downward, because this value will reduce, and if we reduce the RC, it will shift upward. And this load line, wherever it is touching the output characteristics, we take any of these point as operating point. We call it Q point, quiescent point, or we also call it operating point. Now, if you see the whole line, I can take this also as an operating point. I also can take this as an operating point. So any of these can be taken as operating point, but I have to be very careful while taking the operating point, because it may happen that your operating point is very close to this region, this saturation region, and in that case there is a possibility that your device may go to the saturation region in case of BJT and will not work properly, because amplifier will not work in saturation region. It has to be there in the active region in any case. Okay, now the easiest way to do this is you always keep your VCQ, that is the voltage of your operating point, more or less half of VCC. You try to keep that VCQ nearby this point, VCC by 2. In that case, it's kind of a thumb rule, you can say. If you can do this, it is more or less, you don't need to take care of many things. Okay, it is more or less a safe value. So always people try to keep their operating point as half of VCC. Okay, and the major concern is your device should not go to some other value, because here we are using V in, right, as an input, and IB as an input. So at a particular IB you are biasing the whole device. So if what is the value of V in? It is generally very less for small signal analysis. So your IB variation will not be very much. It will be very limited. Okay, so your variation will not be very much in case of IB. However, your IC may vary a little bit because it has an amplification associated with that. That too will be sufficient enough for this operation, so that your point doesn't go into this, operating point doesn't fluctuate and go into this saturation region. If you keep your operating point nearby this value. Okay, so what I want to say is, always try to keep your operating point near this VCC by 2, even if there is some fluctuation because of your input, which generally won't be very high. However, in output at IC, we'll see this is much higher because it will be multiplied by beta term. Then also you will be in the safer zone if you can maintain this VCC by 2 rule. Okay, so this is all about how we bias a circuit, a BJT amplifier, and what is an operating point. And then we also have seen what is a load line. Okay, now there is an example of an BJT biasing as shown in here. So this is also known as single resistor biasing, wherein we have an RC, we have an RB, and the IB current is flowing through this RB resistor. Okay, and the values are given. Say VCC equal to 10 volt, beta is equal to 50 volt, VB on equal to 0.7 volt. VB on means this voltage. Okay, so we took it as a 0.7 volt, so it is not a big deal. You can take it as 0.7 volt, even if in measurement you get 0.65, 0.68, but for the sake of calculation 0.7 is good enough. So it is not going to make it it will not make life difficult. And then your ICQ and VCQ, the operating point is given. ICQ is 1 milliampere, VCQ is 5 volt. Now for this you have to figure out what is RB and RC. Okay, so if you take this black path, then you will find VCC is equal to ICRC plus VCE, normal KVL equation I apply. So VCC will be equal to IC into RC, because IC is flowing in this direction. So it will be VCC equal to IC into RC plus VCE. This is equation number 1. What is your equation number 2? If you take the other route through RB, so what will be the equation in that case? VCC is equal to IBRB. So the current through this branch is IB. So remember this. You don't take IC in this case as well. So here the current is IB. So your VCC will be IBRB plus this voltage VB on. So you have now two equations where VCC is given here. Here also VCC is given. You have RC value given. Sorry, you have to figure out what is RC. So you have VCC, you have VB on, you have VCE, because VCE in this case is VCEQ, you have IC. Now you need to find IB. Now there is a relation IC equal to beta IB. Now if you use this equation, you will also find what is the value of IB. So you have two equations, you have two unknowns, RC and RB. So you can easily find out what is the value of RC and RB. So you can do it in your home. It's not a very difficult numerical. So similar numerical you can expect in different competitive examination or in this examination of this course as well. So this type of numericals are very common in most of the competitive examinations. So in this case we call it a single resistor biasing. Now what is the problem? There is a problem in this kind of biasing, which is beta and VBE both are function of temperature. So with temperature these terms will start varying. Now if this term starts varying, what will vary? Your IC will vary. In fact, beta is also a function of IC. So your beta will also start varying. So your variation in beta will also affect the value of IC. So your operating point will not be fixed. It will vary with external influences. So this particular biasing has influence of external parameters like temperature. That's why this type of biasing is not preferred. Now, if we get a solution, like if there is something, say A by B ratio, wherein the effect of external parameter is same for A and B, then it will get cancelled out. So in that case, the external effect will be less. However, in this case, it is quite high. So that's why it is not very preferred. As I said, temperature will change VB on, but even if VB on is not a very strong function of temperature, this beta is a very strong function of temperature. If you change temperature, you'll find the beta value is changing. Your beta value will also change your IC value. So your operating point will start oscillating. It will not be a fixed. It will start moving here and there, and it may happen in worst case. It may end up into entering saturation region. So your whole biasing will not be good for amplification. Okay, so this is one type of biasing. Now there is another popular biasing which is this. In this case, we use RB1 and RB2 to other resistances as well. Okay, so if you look at this circuit, you'll see we can take three components of a current. Say the current through RB1 is IB1, current through RB2 is IB2, and current through this branch is IB. Now from this you will find that IB1 is equal to IB plus IB2. See, IB1 is getting bifurcated, is getting divided into two different branches. So this IB1 will be equal to IB2 plus IB. Is that clear? Now what is the value of IB1? Look at this. You have a voltage source here VCC. You have a potential here VB. So IB1 will be VCC minus VB divided by RB1. So that is what it is written. Similarly, your IB2 will be VB minus ground. Ground is 0. So VB minus 0 by RB2. So it is essentially VB by RB2. So you have one equation here. Now let us take this path and apply KVL. This is IC, the current through RC, and current through RE is IE. So if we take this path, you have VCC is equal to IC into RC, the voltage drop in RC, then VCE, it is written VCE, then IE into RE. Sorry, this will be IE into RE. Sorry for that. This is I into RE, okay? So VCC is equal to IC into RC, then VCE, and then IE into RE. And then you have a relation called IE is equal to beta plus 1 IB, IC is equal to beta IB. This I already have shown previously. So you have this relation that IC equal to beta IB. Okay, then you know IE is equal to IC plus IB. Replace this value beta IB plus IB. So you will get beta plus 1 IB. So I have written beta plus 1 IB. IE equal to beta plus 1 IB. Right? Now you take this path in the green color. So what you will find? You have VB. This is VB is equal to VB on, the drop across this junction, VB on, which is typically 0.7 volt, and then IE into RE. Okay, then you have IE into RE. So these are the equations that you can consider in order to solve any problem. For example, here I have given one problem wherein RB1, RB2, RC, RE everything is given. VCC is given 10 volt and given that beta is equal to 100. Okay. Now your first equation that I have shown here, it is ICRC plus VCE plus IE RE. So this is ICRC VC plus IE into RE. However, you can consider IC is almost equal to IE. Why? If your beta value is sufficiently high, then your IC and IE value will be more or less same. So you can, as I have written previously, ICRE, that also can be written. But in case if you want even more accurate result, keep it IERE. Just don't take common. Just don't consider this one. However, this will make your life a little difficult because you have to take care of a lot of parameters there. So in certain cases, you can take approximations if it is valid enough. For example, here beta is 100 and we know these equations, right? IE is equal to beta plus 1 IB, IC is equal to beta plus IB. Now if you do IC by IE, you will find beta divided by beta plus 1. IB will get cancelled. Let me just show here. If I do IC divided by IE, your IC is beta IB and your IE is beta plus 1 IB. So your IB will get cancelled. Ultimately IC is equal to beta divided by beta plus 1 into IE. That is what is left with. Now if you put the value of beta, it is 100 divided by 100 plus 1, will be very close to 1, very close to 1. For a sufficiently high beta value, IC can be taken as equal to IE. This will make your life simpler. However, if you don't want, you can keep this equation as it is. Then you have these three equations as I have said, and then you have this equation for, if you consider this path, which is VB equal to VB on IERE, this one, VB equal to VB on IERE, and then you have the first equation, IB1 is equal to IB plus IB2. So I just replaced, this is your IB1 and this is your IB2, just replaced with their respective values. Now you have given these values, you just put, and you have now these equations. Just solve, it's a simple algebra. For example, you have VB and I, you have VB and I. So you can solve these two equations to find VB and I. You can consider I is almost equal to IC, or use this formula. You will find the value of IC. Then put the IC value over here and you will get the value of VC. Or put here, you have IE and IC both. Put here, you have RCRE value known, you will get VC. You know VC, you know IC, and that will be your operating point for this circuit. Now when I am calculating the operating point, I am doing analysis. However, for design we will go backwards, because when you are given a circuit, you first will decide where you want to operate. Based on this operating point, you will find the values of RB1, RB2, RC and RE, right? Then you will say that you are designing. So in this case, it is kind of analysis of the circuit. So mostly this course is for analysis. However, I'm just telling you what design is all about. Okay, so you have this circuit. However, there is another method through which you can solve this circuit. If you see that your beta value is very high, you can say that your IB1 and IB2 is almost equal, because your IB will be very less, right? What is your IB value? It will be IC by beta. So your IC, for example, 10 volt and 5 kilo ohm, it will be around 2 milliampere or so, just considering VCC by RC. It will be 2 milliampere or so, and your beta is 100, so your IB will be 100 times less than this, so it will be 0.02 milliampere, which is very less. So in that case, you know, this equation where IB1 is equal to IB2 plus IB, we consider, if IB is very less, you can consider IB1 is equal to IB2. In this case, your life becomes much simpler, because you just put normal voltage divider. You have VCC, you have ground, just consider half portion of it and take consider voltage divider to find the VB point. So things will become faster. So some approximations will make your calculations faster, which is good, because anyways you don't need a very specific number. You need an estimation first. If you get a good estimation, that is good enough for an engineer. Now here it is shown the other method that I have said. Now if you just consider this portion which is shown here, you have RB1, you have RB2. So you can convert this part as a Thevenin's equivalent circuit. What is Thevenin's equivalent circuit? Thevenin's equivalent circuit is you have a voltage source connected to a resistance. Okay, Thevenin's equivalent circuit is simply this one. Now this voltage source is known as VTH, Thevenin's equivalent voltage, and resistance is known as Thevenin's equivalent resistance. That you have done maybe in the basic electrical or basic electronics course. Now if you consider this circuit, what will be your VTH? Considering this as VCC, this is already grounded. So your VTH will be normal voltage divider, RB2. This should be RB2. Okay, I'm sorry, this should be RB2. RB2 divided by RB1 plus RB2 into VCC. This is your Thevenin's equivalent voltage. What is your Thevenin's equivalent resistance? What you do to find Thevenin's equivalent resistance? You short the voltage. So this is grounded, right? In order to short it, you will ground it. Now you want to find your Thevenin's circuit from these two terminals, right? Once you have shorted this voltage source, RB1 and RB2 are in parallel, right? Because this is your terminal where VB you want to measure. This is your RB2 grounded, and you have another resistance that is also grounded because you have shorted. This is what the rule is. When you try to find the Thevenin's equivalent resistance, you short the voltage source. So your RB1 and RB2 both are parallel. So you got RTH, you got VTH, these two value, and now connect the rest of the circuit with this. So you have RTH here, you have VTH here, you connected the circuit. Now it is again simple. Take this path, apply KVL, VCC equal to ICRC VC into IERE. Then you have this path, you have VTH is equal to IB, current through this, consider this as IB into RTH, then VB on, it is known, and then I into RE. Then you have current equations like IC equal to beta IB, IE equal to beta plus 1 IB. So if you solve these equations, you will find whatever value, whatever you want to get. So you can solve this problem using both the methods and can see that your values are more or less same. Okay, you can do this as an homework and you figure it out. That will help you to understand the circuit. Okay.